I wish I could be more optimistic about the future of sport and anti-doping, but maybe it's a consequence of being involved in all these discussions, but they just seem to me to be coming more and more frequently with less and less clarity about how to resolve them. So just yesterday, journalists went into Russia and exposed in swimming exactly what another journalist had exposed 6 months ago in athletics. Now, the first thing I think about when I see that is, why are journalists doing it? Like, why are the anti-doping authorities, the World Anti-Doping Agency, not able to send people in there and find out exactly the same thing? Instead, it seems to me that journalists who have a will and an ability are going in and doing their job for them. So that's discouraging, especially because when they went in there the first time, the journalists, and found that it's happening in athletics, everybody knew that it would happen in other sports. Yet it took 6 months and journalists to show that instead of the authorities. And that's very disheartening, because it says to me that the authorities don't really have either the will or the ability to do it themselves. And then when it happens, and now the reports come out and they've got people talking about what's going on, the response by the authorities is, this is very concerning and now we'll look into it. And they say, there's no evidence of this, at the moment these are all allegations. I would like to see them say, this is fantastic. Thank you to the media for helping us. We're so committed. Their efforts complement ours, and we have to stop this, and we're going to take this very seriously. But I never hear that message. So when you say what's going to be done about it, is until I hear a message that says that we, the authorities, are absolutely committed to this, I feel like it's all just lip service, which is a pretty cynical, skeptical message, I guess. But I hope that the pressure that's coming on the sport from the media is what's going to change it, because that's the only sign of hope. And it's paradoxical, because what it means is that things have to get worse before they get better. 5 years ago, I don't think the media would have gone into Russia and dug around and tried to expose doping. Now they are. That's a good thing. But unfortunately, when the media does that, the first thing that's going to happen is that you're basically lifting up the rug, and all that rubbish and filth that's been swept under the rug for 10 years, 20 years is going to be visible. But how else are you going to get rid of it? You have to lift the rug. So I think that's the answer to your question, is that we need more people to go in and ask the difficult questions. We need more people to probe, and we need fewer people to just say, it's fine, like there's no doping, all the tests are coming back and no one's failing doping controls. Well, that's not the issue. The issue is the corruption and what's going on behind the scenes. So I think it needs people to probe, and it needs people to push and poke and so on. And it's going to get uglier before it gets better. But that's the answer, is it needs to be actively pursued. The banned substance list is a real murky grey area that complicates the anti-doping fight. And I actually think one of the solutions is to simplify that list and to get rid of many of the substances that athletes fail tests for that are actually, they're not innocuous, but they're nowhere near as powerful as some of the ones we know. So if you think back to Ben Johnson in 1998, that was a synthetic steroid called stanozolol, which was manufactured in a lab, and it's more powerful than testosterone. And there's no question that it's A, performance enhancing, and B, probably very harmful. So you only have to look in the 1960s and 70s, especially in the Eastern European countries, but not exempting countries like the US, they were giving athletes those drugs. And we know that there are so many health issues now as a consequence of doping. So if a drug is harmful, it must be on the list. And if a drug is performance enhancing, it must be on the list. But then things get a little more complicated, because some of the drugs that we know are performance enhancing have never been scientifically proven to be performance enhancing. So there's debate even around some of the more effective doping products like blood doping and EPO, because ethically, how do you scientifically prove that this drug is worth 10% or 5%? It's very difficult. So there are some studies, but not many. Now you look at things like meldonium, which is what Sharapova failed a test for, and 110 others have failed tests this year for that drug. It's on the list because the authorities saw that people were using it. It's a drug that's intended for use in people who've got heart problems, quite severe cardiovascular issues. So that's, first of all, when 110 elite athletes are using a drug that was developed for cardiac disease, that kind of makes you go, something's not right with this picture. But people have argued that it's got no performance enhancing benefits. And so now there's suddenly a big debate away from ethics, away from is it cheating or not, to does it actually even work? And to me, that's just distracting. So I would rather see many of the substances that are banned taken off the list, and particularly you alluded to stimulants. Supplements often are contaminated with stimulants that are probably so mild that a cup of coffee would give you more benefit than they do. Why that needs to be on the list and cause all the controversy and so forth, when you really need to put all your money and your energies into catching testosterone, growth hormone, EPO, blood doping, that seems to me to be one compromise. Is let's rather refine it, say that there are 20 substances that are banned because they're harmful and performance enhancing, and we're going to go hard after those. All the others, like methylhexanamine and the hundreds of other stimulants that are similar to caffeine, caffeine's not on the list. Take them off the list as well. I think that would be a big step forward, as long as they can focus and effectively catch the ones that work. That to me is the solution. It's the equivalent of going after petty crime when people are getting away with murder.